I'm just really glad that you guys came and visited me here. I'm very magical, a very magical little spot. There's a lot of ghosts here. When I walk into the space, I hear voices and they approve of me being here and doing all this to this place, and they approve of you being here so far. Mostly people who can see me gag. There are certain scents in here. It's a combination of incense, bar booze, poppers, definitely cigarette and weed smoke. My fault. Hello everyone, it's Raja, winner of season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And I won some other stuff, but mainly I'm just straight up iconic. Welcome to my closet in my home here in Los Angeles. Please come in. Hold on. Slowly. Now, follow me. Should I just wear this? No, I'm just kidding. This was the jacket that I wore in the punk rock challenge. This purple hat that I wore in the workroom. See this chain? This is the chain thing that I wore in the finale of Drag Race. Like, how many years ago was that? You know, different times, different budgets, and I'm so proud of it. Why is Los Angeles my home? Yeah, I didn't ask for it. I was born here. And it's LA. Like, if you could be born anywhere, like, this might be a good place in America. It's very diverse, for the most part, really amazing weather, and we've got a lot of culture and history. And it's home. This is where I was born, so like, ultimately, there's all of that. And especially as someone who's an Angelian, I guess they call it. I don't know what the they call us, but like, if as an Angelian, it's like, either you get it or you don't. We're not here to fight you and defend ourselves about why we're cooler than you. If you don't get it, go back to your miserable place and enjoy it. Like, it's not my fault. And that is the LA attitude, and people are really angry about it. And I accept it, I own it, it is me, it is we, it is plural. I'm an Angelian. I'm Angelian Jolie. I'm telling you, it is a luxury as an adult to have a separate room to put all your drag in. What you're seeing is obviously a very tidied up version, if you can believe that. It's normally a mess because I travel quite a bit for work. So this is like, dump the suitcase, neglect, don't look at it for like until the next trip, which could be a week to a month later, depending on how popular we are at that part of the year. I'm just saying, this is a very, like, you know, a cleaned up version of it, so appreciate it for that, because you might never see it like this again. But there's method. There's method to the madness. Yes. Drag go-tos, I think people always expect me to go to something that is quite visual. You know, whatever version of that I decide to give. So there's like, you know, things that are color coordinated, but then there's like things that I kind of keep separate just for kicks that have historical, which I'm like, do I wear this again? Because it still works. You know, you can just walk around in a bloody Carrie dress. The one that I wore on season 3 for the comedy challenge. This is the exact dress that I wore. This was an underdress that came with this white dress, once upon a time white dress, at Target in the sale department. Interesting that it already had a little train on it. Pretty fancy for like, you know, just a regular store. So I separated them, and then this became the Carrie dress. Doing the comedy challenge was something that I'd never done before. It was something that was really scary at the time for me. It was a fake it to make it moment. It is kind of fierce though. I mean, like, I could see it with sneakers or a heel. Crocs, mostly for me at the airport. I could see this at the airport. Who doesn't want to see a bloody slip dress when you're at TSA? You know? Just ask, I'm just saying, just ask it. Inspiration comes from everywhere. It's constant. It's wonderful, and it's something that I battle with, because like, I'll be like, you know, doing something inconvenient, and then all of a sudden a brilliant idea comes up and I need to write it down. But mostly I write it down. I don't know if, oh yeah, here. I keep a journal of everything. There's nothing like pen to paper. These are all my drawings, so if there's a wig inspiration, hat ideas, for instance, I'm always drawing, always sketching, always writing down an idea, a silhouette. It's how I navigate through life, you know, and sometimes it's just a scribble or a word, but I can use it as reference and it helps me come back to it and revisit it and create through having a journal. So, did I just go on a crazy tangent? I did. I occupied most of my time during the pandemic creating things, because if I feel like I have a certain amount of time to get to sit down and create something, I will utilize that time. So I was just making a bunch of stuff and I made this thing. I live in Koreatown and I found this. This is just like complete fast fashion at one of the little K-Town shops. Super cheap, but loved it just because it was bright pink and it was there. And then while it was laying around during COVID, I decided I was gonna embellish it. And then soon enough, this became the inspiration to the entire look of the reveal challenge. This was the base of it. I had already made this, and then I created the stuff around it. I had to work with things that were already pre-existing, but most of this is upcycled. Every single piece of it comes from another costume. All of this ruffle was part of a crinoline skirt that I had that might have been yellow, pink. It's all spray painted. I love the artisanal idea. You know, artisanal. Craft, which used to be kind of like poo-pooed on and snobbery. And I think that idea has completely changed. There was hours and hours put into this, but this is all upcycled, and it is one of my favorite things that is in my closet, because it definitely, one of those things that holds a memory that is indelible of a certain time in my life and all of ours. Accessories are everything. Accessories are everything, 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 everything. I have a obsession. It's an obsession. It's bad. It's bad. I don't even know where half of the things I buy, and then I think about that. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Just kidding. No, no, accessories. You can dress up everything, and if you have a story and be like, where did you get that full-on like thing? You had to be there, honey. It was a flea market in Shanghai. You ever been to Shanghai? No? Oh, been there a few times. Every time I go to this one flea market and I buy all the, you know what I mean? Like, it's so boasty and fun and just like accessories. It starts the conversation. And it completes an outfit. You can wear a complete solid look and throw on a bunch of and all of a sudden it's like, it's just a thing, you know? It really is the spice of the outfit. I have a fetish for headdresses. I love to put anything on my head. This flamingo, I wore in the same challenge that I wore the pink dress, but I just love how cheap this whole thing was. I added the feathers, a vintage piece of applique that I had that was probably about like 60 years old that I just held on to, found from another costume that belonged to another drag queen that passed away. Listen, I like to hang on to it. And I know that people get spooked out about old things in particular, like vintage things, because they believe that, you know, ooh, it belonged to dead people. That's why I buy it. I'm all about the history of it. So there's some dead people things on here and some things from Target. It all goes. That is the metaphor to life. And I can't get rid of it because I'm a hoarder. I'm not a hoarder, I'm a maximalist, which is a hoarder with glamorous tendencies. I've always wanted a play space, and that's exactly what this is, including my closet, which not only is a play space, but also now at this point in my life is now an actual, like, mind-blowingly, it's an archive of stories. So I wanted to share this piece here. I've idolized Ru for so long. I feel like Ru is a distant mentor and has made a presence in my life in so many interesting ways, including this very robe. There's a few things in my closet that belong to RuPaul. When I was living in New York City, I went to a thrift shop, walked in, perused, touched things, went to this little rack of clothing. I was like, oh my God, am I like seeing things? Somebody had forgotten to pay the storage of a space somewhere in New York City, and the stuff ended up at this store called Junk. I walked in, and on the same shelf was this very robe. So to make a very lengthy story about my connection to RuPaul, somehow my broke ass in Williamsburg saw this on that rack, and it is the very robe that is worn by RuPaul in the Supermodel video. Now in the music video, it's a lot more fluffy, but over time, like now almost, what, 40 years? 40 years? The fluff around the neck is now a lot more compact and more woolly and felt-like, and this belonged to RuPaul, and somebody forgot to pay the storage, and I bought it, and I paid $40. Drag has always been about the look for me. When I first step onto stage, it really is about the first few seconds, the impact of the visual that people see. Now, I have a love and fascination for shoes and hats in particular, because those are things that have always been something limiting to me. When you stand 6'3" and you wear a size 13 or 14 shoe, and the year is 1994. There was no online anything. The options of finding a shoe that large in a high heel, you know, I'm talking about actual trauma here. As an adult, and as I've started to make a little bit of money for myself, and as I luxuriate on certain things and spend my money on things, I love to occasionally have a bespoke shoe made. Nothing gives me emotions as much as this boot. My relationship to shoes have changed, and I do realize that perhaps I probably won't be able to wear this shoe and walk through a room in it, let alone just stand up in it. I can always look at it. You know what I mean? If I can't wear this anymore, I will drill a hole all the way through to the bottom, put a lamp thing in it, a fierce ass shade, and there's two of them, put one on either side of my bed/casket. I don't know, it will find its purpose. And at least at this very moment in my life, it feels like, bitch, you made it. The first time I was on Drag Race, I was 36 years old. So I already came in with a very an adult point of view. But now, and the second time around, just a few years ago, I was 47, 48, a whole different person. Outside of just being on television, the amount of travel and the friendships I've made. So I definitely came into it with a different wisdom and understanding, not only of the process that we were about to get into, but of life itself. Just over my shoulder, right over here, is my entrance look to All-Star 7. This is another one of those COVID things. When you're just sitting around, really having not a lot to do, and an idea comes into your mind, and you start taking apart from other pieces in my closet. I was like, oh my God, I have that pleated gold stuff that I found in New York. Then there's that other pleated gold stuff from another piece that I had in the closet. Pleats go with pleats, they're both gold, and so it just kind of became. I found other things, and I started to create these discs. And then I already had this base, which was, again, from Korean shop fast fashion places that probably sold this for about $15, again, supporting local business. But this basic little cheap-ass thing became the base of what held the hand-hewn sculpture part of it. Again, I made all of the stuff, made all of it, and then I got a phone call to go on Drag Race. So all of these things became the available costumes, proudly made by myself. Just behind is the headpiece. Once I realized I was going back on Drag Race, I was like, well, what could I do that, because the entrance is everything now. That's where you leave your personal tagline, that's gonna be how people identify you. So I wanted to revisit the whole eye concept, because that's my thing. To go with the costume, something that felt more ornate, something that had a little bit of a, maybe kind of a religious kind of feel to it, because I love the dark and light pleats, and it just reminded me of the birth of Halo behind angels and saints and such. So I was like, let's keep going with that. Let's go with things that are Baroque, things that have texture and cacao. In other words. Oh! Did somebody call for an icon?
Yeah. What's next for Raja when you look to the future?
What do I expect in my future? What do I want to do? Listen, I think I don't know. What I do know is there are certain patterns that I've experienced in my life that I'll never go back to. I have that to look forward to. I don't look behind me at the bad things. I constantly want to create. When I don't know what's going on, all I know is that I can pour myself into the work, into creating, and then something shows up. And the phone call happens, and then it creates a trajectory. There's a lot of things I want to do, but I don't want to be quoted on it right now because it's happened to me too many times. So I don't like to divulge and overshare all of my tea all at once because it takes a lot of magic from being an enigma and surprising people. So the surprise is going to be as big to you as it is to me. So let's watch, let's see what happens. So now you've seen it all. I'm glad you can't smell it all. And when you do, it'll be bottled and you'll be buying it as well. But mostly thanks for coming. Thanks for taking up time in my day today. And thanks for invading my sacred space. Now please leave. Just kidding. Come back.